Hey, good evening and welcome once again to another edition of the Truth Hour. My name is Johnny Guzman. As always, a pleasure to be here on this Thursday, August the 30th, 2012. Tonight we have a special guest. His name is James Thomas. He's the Postmaster General of North America. He will be joining us in just a few seconds and we'll be sharing all his wisdom. Tonight's topic, freedom. We'll be asking him what is the right procedure in getting rid of this fiction that we so much know that has enslaved us and of course is represented in these capital letters in all of our legal documents. But before we start, I'd like to remind you to send us your invitations to Facebook to keep up to date of all the things that we're doing, QLP, Multimedia, and of course to see all of our previous programs in English and in Spanish. You can go to our YouTube channel, QL Television. Okay, so let's bring in our friend James Thomas. Good evening, James, and thank you for coming tonight to the Truth Hour.
Good evening. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, James. Before we start tonight, there's a few things that I mentioned to you earlier. Most of our audience are pretty knowledgeable on this whole idea of the Illuminatis and the Vatican and the New World Order, and I would say a lot more of the English-speaking audience are more aware of this legal fiction or this straw man that this government or group of people have created and enslaved us. Unfortunately, in our Spanish world, we're pretty ignorant on that. Zero, I would say. So the reason I'm telling you this is because I will probably be asking you some questions that may sound a little basic, but I would assure you that are not basic at all in terms of the people understanding our Spanish-speaking audience. You know, our Spanish-speaking audience also speaks a lot of English. A lot of them speak a lot of English. So I think this interview will be extremely helpful to them. But before we start, I want you to explain exactly what it is that your office, the Postmaster General of North America, what is that office? Is that an organization that belongs to what we know the government? Because I saw in one of your pages that you have an office in Washington, D.C. I don't know if that's correct or not, but please do explain what it is that your office does. James.
Yeah. Yes, we do have a mailing location in Washington, D.C., and our telephones have Washington, D.C. area codes. But we're not located in Washington, D.C. physically. We're actually located in Virginia. And no, we're not really we're not a part of the government that, as you understand it. We are the new government and what is called the interim government. And let me explain how this, what this does, what it means, and how we got into this position. In the beginning, God gave man dominion over all things to hold in trust. Okay, we can never own anything. Everything always has and always will belong to the Creator. When we die, we cannot take it with us. If we leave this earth and go to Mars, we cannot take it with us. We merely have a divine right of use of all the estate. Now, the entire world and all that in it is what we call the divine estate. That is what our Creator created here and gave us the right to use. So, in the beginning, we had dominion over all things, and each man was a trustee of that part of the estate which he used. So if you're using this little plot of land here, you were responsible for taking care of that as a trustee and leaving that plot of land in a better position or situation than whenever you got there. So through the years, man being what they are, we had those that were too lazy to take care of their parts of it, and then there was others that saw that there was power and money and taking over or promising to be trustee over other people's estates. And today, the Vatican boasts absolute dominion and control over the entire earth by conquest. Now, what that means is they can't own anything. Just like us, they can't own anything. So all it means is they are the primary trustee of the global trust. So it's the entire earth that we call the global trust. Now, to facilitate the administration of that global trust, because the Vatican is just a small area, and they had to break it up, break the world up into smaller bits and pieces to make it manageable. And to give each one of those smaller pieces sovereign authority, they had to have a post office. So to administrate this global trust, the Vatican created the Universal Postal Union. They broke down the entire world into smaller postal zones, and they endowed those postal zones with sovereign authority through having a post office. So the Vatican is the primary trustee of the global trust, and the Universal Postal Union is the secondary or the number two trustee of the global trust. And then they break down the global trust into smaller parts. Into each one of those has a postal zones has a postmaster, like myself, and we are responsible as trustees for that part of the global trust which is assigned to you. So for years and years, hundreds of years, this global trust has been administrated by the trustees under a dark energy. And they created tons of legal fictions, dead entities to administrate this. So what happened was I finally, in the process of trying to become free and try to access my private funds to discharge my part of the debt, I became part of that system. I was endowed with, or I was commissioned by the Vatican as the Postmaster General of North America. When I finally identified myself, was able to prove to the Vatican that I was indeed a living being, and not only a living being, but the divine spirit having a human experience, at that point in time, the Vatican had to recognize me and commissioned me as part of the trusteeship. So the trusteeship, or the position of office of the Postmaster General, is no more than a trusteeship of the global trust. Now the difference is, instead of my trust or my part of the trusteeship being legal fictions and being administrated in the dark energy, I was able to infuse the living spirit, the divine spirit, into the trusteeship. So it brought this trusteeship back into original jurisdiction. So that's how the post office fits into this whole thing. The Vatican is the primary trustee of the global trust. They broke it down to break it down and give each section sovereign authority. They created the post office, or the Universal Postal Union, and that became then broke that down into the section of or postal zone of North America, and that's what I claimed. I claimed the position of Postmaster General of North America in original jurisdiction, and in that capacity, I was commissioned by the Vatican.
Okay, but you're saying that you're commissioned by the Vatican because you
Absolutely.
have declared this, or because they recognize this?
No, they acknowledged it. They sent me. I now am the keeper of the seventh seal, the great seal of Saint Peter, and that was given to me by the Vatican as acknowledgement of my position and as a trustee and Postmaster General of North America. So I hold the seventh seal, the great key of Saint Peter. And that key is the seal of, or the key of peace. All right. The powers that be have waged war against the people and our estates for millennia. All right. And so it's this war. They've created wars against drugs, wars against crime, wars against terrorism, and financial wars against the people. Well, what was the end result of all these wars? We had more illicit drug use, we had more crime, we had more terrorism, and we had worse financial situations. So we found out, or we learned that war begets war. So in my position as the divine spirit having a human experience and trustee of the global trust, I'm here to help restore peace. I'm here to end the war against the people that's been waged against us by the powers that be for millennia. And that is my position. And yes, the Vatican has acknowledged that. They absolute. It is absolute power of that position. So.
James, I agree with you, and I believe you're telling me the truth, obviously, because you're saying it. But the skeptics would say, well, what makes you think that you are the savior of this planet? You know what I'm saying? I mean, why would anyone think that you are the one that's gonna that has this authority? Can you explain that? I mean, because that sounds like what you're saying.
No, no, no. I am not the savior. I'm not a savior, and I'm not a leader. I've simply been given the key to create the change. I've been saying for years that I am no more than a member of the transition team. All right, and what does that mean? Is that we are transitioning from this old system of slavery and debt, and we're transitioning into the new world of freedom and currency of value, where we are no longer going to be at war with each other, and we're going to peace. I am not a savior. Trust me, and please don't ever put me on a pedestal. I am just a man. I grew up a farm boy. I've got a high school education with a couple classes in college. And I'm not a leader. I don't want people to follow me. I have created this for my own self, to create freedom for myself, and I stand here as a beacon of light to light the way for you and everybody else who wishes to find freedom. And that's it.
Okay.
I have simply I've been given a key to open the doors to allow others to walk through.
Okay, James. Now, in our previous conversation, you mentioned that just to put your name in lower caps and also to put Virginia State in lower caps. Why did you Why did you tell me to do that? Please explain that.
Well, it's very complicated, and maybe try to break it down for everybody. Our states exist in original jurisdiction, and that is all lowercase. In the county of Franklin or the county of whatever, it's all lowercase. Now, to protect the estates, or in the illusion of protecting the estates, they created corporate veils to separate us from our estates. They've identified the people as being enemies of the estate and enemies of the crown, and to separate us, and supposedly to protect the estates, they've created these levels of corporate veils to protect it. We exist, or our states exist, in the all lowercase. My name is James Thomas, all lowercase. They added the McBride, the last name, and that is a slave name. All right, so my real name is James Thomas in all lowercase. The first level of the corporate veil is upper and lowercase. James is an upper J, or a capital J, and a lowercase rest of it. Thomas is uppercase T, and the rest of it is lowercase. So the upper and lowercase is the first level of corporate protection, separating us from our state. The next level is the all capital letters name. James Thomas McBride in all capital letters. So we have now 2 or 3 levels of protection, corporate protection, supposedly, from our state, because we have been named enemies of this state, which separate us from our state. So to get back to our original jurisdiction, to be able to tap into our estate, to tap into true freedom, you have to go back to the all lowercase first and middle name only. And it's a schematics thing. It's semantics. It's because they identify those things as being part of their slave system. When you add your last name on, and they ask you, who are you, and you give them your last name, they automatically are assuming that you're testifying against yourself that you're a slave. Whenever you spell your name in upper and lower case, you're testifying against yourself that you're a slave. Okay, so that's why when somebody asks me, what is my name is James Thomas. And how do I spell that? In all lowercase. Because I'm not a slave. I spent 50-some years of my life as a slave. I spent 25 or 30 years of that trying to become free from that slavery. And today I am. Today, in the last couple of years, I've had the police tell me, we can't talk to you because you no longer exist in our system. I've had a judge and a magistrate tell me, we couldn't prosecute you even if we wanted to. Today, I enjoy freedom from the system. And it's because of these little things, the details. The devil's in the details. You've heard that before. And that's what it is with the system. The system enslaves us through a huge number of assumptions. Some things, assumptions that we just take for granted. And the problem is, throughout our life, from the day we were born, we began testifying against ourselves, and we do it every single day, that we are a slave. When you sign your name, you've just given testimony that you're a slave. So there's all of these things that are a part of what enslaves us, and part of what you have to understand to gain your freedom. You can go to peace. I can get you free in very little time. The question is, can you remain free? And without education, you can never remain free, because we've been programmed from the day we were born to become good slaves. Our mothers signed a birth certificate, and that signed us into slavery. God bless her, she didn't know. If she did, she would have never done it. But unwittingly, she thought she was doing the right thing. And in doing that, she enslaved us. Whenever we got a Social Security number, and you, whatever your tax numbers, when you get driver's license, when you get all of these things, you're testifying against yourself that you're a slave. When you open a bank account, you're testifying that you're a slave. And we think we're doing the right thing. So to become free, we have to know, how were we enslaved? And until you know how you're enslaved, you'll never be able to stay free. I can get you free. I can do the documents and stuff to free you in a matter of days. It's a piece of cake. It's all just cut and dry. They're just documents. The key is it takes a change of mentality to remain free.
James, it's a change of mentality, as you're saying. But what about, I mean, we still have to live in this circus, right? I need to get to point A to point B. Maybe I have to travel to the United States. I need to take a plane. They're going to ask me, where's your passport? They're going to ask me, to identify myself. And if I don't, if I tell them, hey, listen, I'm a sovereign man, I don't need this, I have a document, maybe the person that's at the counter is going to say that you're crazy and I'm not going to let you get on the plane. Or, or an example, something like that. So I know there's a procedure, obviously. I understand that. But we still have to live in this craziness that everyone around us, is not, I don't know if the correct word is a sovereign, correct me if I'm wrong, but or does it mean that we have to live in a community? And that also becomes a problem, because, it's not easy living with people. Everyone has their own issues, and, everyone, because of the conditioning as well. And now with this new age kind of movement thing, now everyone seems to have the right answers, and everyone seems to know what is right for everyone else. So do you understand what I'm saying? How can we operate, get rid of the fiction, and at the same time operate in this crazy world that we live in, James?
Well, and the first step is by stop saying, I know they're going to do this. I know they're going to stop me at the airport. I know they're going to make me have a passport. Because our words and our thoughts are the building blocks of our creation, of our reality. We are master builders of creation, of our own reality. And we do that every time we say something. I know this is going to happen. I know there's going to be trouble. I know they're going to stop me. But when you say those things, that's exactly what you create for yourselves. For me, I know I am free. I know they're not going to bother me. I know these things are not going to touch my life. And that's the difference, because I know. Because I don't buy into the fear. I don't give any of that fear any life. And it's taken a long time to get to that point, to stop saying, oh, I have terrible luck. Or with my luck, I know it's going to be a bad day, because you create that by your simple words. So that's what I say. This is a spiritual path. It's not the documents that get you free. The documents are no more than noticing them, that you know who you are. And now you know that you are free. Can you stay free? I don't know. It's a very hard course, and there are very few that can do it. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we do, is we're trying to teach people how to be free. I've spent my whole life conquering fear. I don't watch television at all, because why? It's all fear. I don't watch the news because it's all fear-based. They're trying to make us create in the negative. The powers that be create all of these fear-based stories, and they feed them to us, all this terrorism and all this crime. And we keep giving it energy. We keep talking about it, and we keep thinking about it. And our thoughts and our words create that reality for us. They give us the dream, and we create it for them. Once we realize that we are master creators of our own reality, now we can choose what reality we want to create for ourselves. You have to ask yourself, is today not an absolute result of all of the decisions I made yesterday and the day before? Absolutely they are. So if my reality today is a direct result of all of my words, thoughts, and deeds in the past, then that means you are a master creator of your own reality, and now you can choose what kind of reality you want to make for yourself. If you don't like what you've created your reality today, you have to look, what am I doing, and why am I creating this ugly reality? And how can I change to create a reality that is more to my liking? And it all starts with how you think, how you talk, what you give your life energy to. Do you want to give your life energy to fear? Or do you want to give your life energy to peace and prosperity? And that's what this process is about. We can do the documents for you, but 5 minutes later, you're still a slave, because of the way you think, the way you talk, and the way you act. So what we're here to do, and what our process is, and what our deal is, our mission here is to teach people how to create in the positive, how to live a positive, peaceful, abundant life.
Okay.
We can give you the documents, but they don't make you free.
Right.
You are free as soon as you believe you are free.
Okay. James, I have a question, because this is one of the questions that our Spanish community has asked me. As you know, the troubled times that Spain is going through, well, the whole world, but Spain is getting hit very hard. You know, again, because they still have, as you're saying, that mentality that, you know, the government needs to bail them out and help in their lives. But one of the questions they've asked me is, you know, I think it's something like 50,000 people are losing their homes every day over there. And they've written to me, how can we save our home? You know, is there a form that I can fill out, or is there something, a procedure, so that I don't lose my house? It's a very, you know, complicated question, obviously.
Right.
But
it is very complicated. And yes, we believe that we can stop foreclosures.
Okay, can you explain that a little bit, how that whole that system could happen?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
That can you explain how can, you know, apart from changing our state of mind, you know, and getting away from the way that, as you so eloquently said it, get away from that way of thinking, but legally, or is that the correct word? Can we save our homes for these people? Can you explain that?
Let me explain something. When they foreclose against your home, they are only foreclosing on the title. They can never foreclose on the property. They foreclose on the title, and they convince you to abandon the property. They threaten and coerce you. We're going to throw you out. We're going to set you out, and you move out. They give you a fake order and tell you you have to leave, and you obey it. They cannot foreclose on the property. Only the original landlord, the true landlord, can foreclose on the property. And a legal fiction government can never be the landlord. Only the indigenous people of the country, of the world, are the true landlords, and they are the only ones who can foreclose on your property. So there's a matter of knowing what's going on. Again, knowing how did they enslave you? How do they operate? And what is the real truth? All right? So there is a process. There is a way. But you have to look at things differently. You cannot operate within their statutory system because that's part of the enslavement. You have to be able to put aside all the legal stuff you know, all the stuff we've learned. For many of us, I was very deep into the legal part of it, and I was very good at it. But there was no remedy there, and I had to learn to throw all that away. And there's only 2 or 3 or 4 of us in the country that I know of that are able to do that. Most of the people, most of the so-called gurus, still believe that there's a remedy in the statutory, and that continues to enslave them. So there is a process, but it all begins with looking at things from a different perspective, knowing how they enslaved us and knowing what the truth is. I don't care if they foreclose on the title. It's their title. They can have it. But it's our property. And now we can stop that. And we're going to start working on some of those here in the very near future. We're going to be guiding a few people through the foreclosure process. We're going to help show people how to reclaim their homes, how to stop the foreclosure, stop the sale of their home. We know how to deal with IRS issues. And in your country, they're not the IRS, but it's the same thing. They're the tax collectors. We know how to stop those now. We know how to go into court, or when we get drug into court, how to stop that. They've told me they couldn't prosecute me no matter what, even if they wanted to. And why? It's not because of the paperwork. It's because I know who I am. And it's that simple. Mm-hmm. We volunteer into their system all the time. Mm-hmm. When you stop volunteering, they cannot touch you. So the key is stop volunteering. But to stop volunteering, we have to know, how do they enslave us? What happened, and what did they do, and how they enslave us? Once we know that, now we have the opportunity to change our way of thinking and know who we are. It is all about knowing who we are. I am the divine spirit having a human experience. I am not a human who has a soul. I am the divine spirit, one with the Creator, the same as you and everyone else on this earth. We all, the Bible, the Quran, every religious book on the earth tells us that God resides within. That every cell of our body contains the spark of the Creator. The Bibles tell us that. The books tell us that. But the churches teach us different. They tell us to look out there for God. God looks, he's out there and he shines down on you, or he frowns down on you. And that's a lie. Because God is within. We are the gods. We are the creators of our own realities. We are one with the Creator. And once you understand that, once you can be that, once you know who you are free. And they cannot touch you.
James, but there's a lot of people that have gone to jail. I mean, in those cases, you know, I know tons of people who are pretty awakened and pretty intelligent in knowing the system. But one thing that they will say is, you know what, I'm not going to mess with the IRS. You know, they can really come into my house. You know, they went to my neighbor's house and they took my house, they took his house, his car, they took all his property, and the guy's, you know, living out underneath the bridge now. So I can do everything else except pay taxes. So I'm not going to mess with that. So I mean,
okay. So what did you just say? This guy is living in fear.
Yes, he is.
He's expressing his fear. I am scared of the IRS, and therefore I'm going to avoid them.
Yes.
That is fear.
But people have gone
And
to
that's
jail, though,
why,
James. People are in jail.
I,
There's that what?
absolutely, I've gone to jail, but it's because I didn't know who I was. And if you know, and when you know who you are, you don't go to jail. Because it's very simple. There are very simple steps. We consent every step of the way. I had a guy the other day, last week, that he was being arrested, and as he was putting the cuffs on him, he said, I do not consent to being arrested. When he went to court the next day, 2 days later, this all came out. The prosecutor said, well, when he read the cop's report, he said, whenever he was handcuffing, he said, I do not consent. And the judge stopped the prosecutor right then and there, and he looked at the guy and he says, based on what you just heard, do you wish to move for dismissal of this action for failure of jurisdiction? The judge told him, because you did not consent, you have a way out of this. Now the guy didn't catch it, so he's still in there. He didn't agree. He didn't take advantage of it. But the judge knew. The simple thing of saying, I do not consent, is so powerful. Because every step of the way we consent. Everybody in jail today consented to being in jail. And I know that sounds harsh, and that sounds cruel, but I assure you it is the absolute truth. Everybody in jail today is absolutely there by their own consent. Now, were they tricked into giving the consent? Absolutely. But they still consented. Because of their ignorance, because of their lack of knowledge of the truth, they unwittingly consented and ended up in jail. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Now, I personally have a little bit of trouble understanding this part. How is it? Can you explain how everything is paid for already, and we could just sort of exchange the debt for payment? Can you explain that a little bit? Because and I know a lot of our audience, our Spanish-speaking audience that speaks English, definitely don't understand that system. Not the system. Don't understand that concept. Can you explain that?
It's because the entire estate belongs to we the people. These private corporations, these governments are all corporations. A corporation is a legal fiction. They have no life energy. They have no way of creating anything, so they have no way of creating profit. The only thing they can do is leverage our estate, leverage our life energy to create money. And in doing that, by using our life energy and our estate to create money, our accounts become prepaid. Every time you sign your name, they create funds from it. Every time you're arrested or you get a ticket, a speeding ticket, anything, they create money from it. When you open a bank account, when you get a mortgage or a loan, they are creating funds from your credit. And if they're creating funds from your credit, then your account is prepaid. All right, you have all of these funds. They have used your credit to prepay all these things. Look at a car or a home. What is it? What is a car? It starts out with dirt, with ore. All right, they dig it out of the ground, and it takes energy to dig that out of the ground. And it takes more energy to convert that to a metal, to a steel. And it takes more energy to turn that steel into parts. And it takes even more energy to turn those parts into a working product. So what do we just say? A car is no more than a massive collection of energy. Without energy, all you have is a pile of dirt. It is our life energy that built that car. All right? And it's the same thing that built those homes, that built these buildings. And it's our life energy, and they're giving us what in exchange? They're giving us an IOU. In America, we have the Federal Reserve note, and if you know what a Federal Reserve note is, and it's the same in all over the world, it is an IOU. It is a promise to pay at some future time. Well, is that really payment? No, it's not. It's a promise to pay in a future time. So what they've done is stolen your energy and given you credit. And you have credit in this book. And is that prepaid account, that credit which you can use to set off your debt. I've worked my entire life. Therefore, when I need this car, I can now take and exchange my life energy that's in reserve here for that car. Living in a state of grace, and this is our inheritance promised by every religious book and every religion in the world. Living in the state of grace is ask, and you shall receive. All of your needs will be met. All of your survival needs are supposed to be met. They are there and met by the Creator. But these corporations have stolen our energy, and they've forced us to work just to survive. And they've taken all of this energy, all of these credits are on account. And when we learn how to access those, now we can truly live in a state of grace. We can exchange our life energy for those things that we need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So how does James Thomas, for example, eat? I mean, how do you pay for your food? I mean, do you grow your own food? How is it that you, exist? How is it
Well,
that
I
you?
mean, it's not a simple question. It's a simple answer. First of all, it's a process. It's not like just one day you give up the Federal Reserve note and you exist. There is a process, and that's what my office of Postmaster General is all about. That is creating the bridge to help us get from this debt system over to living in a state of grace. That's what we're doing today. We are creating the bridge to help all the people to make it from where we are to where we're going. For where we're going is heaven on earth, as above, so below. We're coming up on the end of a time.
Uh-huh.
We have lived in negative energy for several thousand years, and now the pendulum of life is ending. Has reached its apex. The negative energy cycle is over, and now the pendulum of life is going the other way. And now we are going to live in several thousand years of peace and prosperity and abundance. And it's a transition. It's not a light switch thing, on and off, open the door and walk through. It's a process. We have to re-educate ourselves. We have to create a whole new infrastructure to make this transition work. And that's what we're doing. We are creating every day, and we have been creating this for years, all of the infrastructure that it takes to transition from a debt system and the system we live in today, where we work to survive, to a system of currency and value, or a currency of value, where all of our needs are met, and now we work to fulfill our passion. Once you get to a point where you're living in a state of grace and all your survival needs are met, and you don't have to work just to survive, now you can do what you love. And it's not a job. There are people out there who love to pick up the garbage. That is what they're passionate about. And those people will be able to do that. There are people who like to write books, people who like to paint. And these things bring joy and harmony and happiness to people's lives. And that's what they're going to be able to do in the future. There are people who love to take care of people. There are people who love to heal. And once we get to make this transition where we no longer have to work just to survive, we will now be able to do work at what we are passionate about. And the Office of the Postmaster General and the council which is created under that is here. We are the transition team. And we are commissioned by the Vatican at the very top level of the earth, at the very top level of this trusteeship, to create this bridge to assist the people to make this transition. And that's what we are here for. We are here to create the bridge and light the way. But the people have to make the trip.
Right. James,
the people have to make the changes. They have to wake up to what the truth is. Mm-hmm. They have to awaken to who they are.
Right. James,
and when they're finally able to do that, the bridge, all the facility is here for you to be free. We're creating a new banking system. We're creating a new legal system. We're creating a whole new world. And we're creating the way to get there. We are the transition team.
Mm-hmm. James,
you have to make the trip.
In this process that you've been working at for years, I assume, how have you seen the response to this? I mean, are people finally getting it? Or are you working with how many people? Can you explain that a little bit? Is it a whole team that you have put together? How is this process?
We have a team. Our team that works under the Postmaster General is 15 people that are directly a part of the council. We work with bankers and politicians and people all over the world. We communicate with kings and queens and heads of state. We communicate with the most powerful bankers in the world on a daily basis. This is a worldwide thing, and the whole world wants to make this trip. The entire world knows that we must make this transition. So it's huge. People are waking up to what's going on. And it's slow. It's been a long, slow process. But people are waking up. You are the ones that we've been waiting for. The people keep waiting for Jesus to strike down as lightning bolt and save us. You even ask, am I the Savior? We, each one, are our own Savior. You are the one you've been waiting for. Stop waiting. The key is now to get up and act. Get up and learn the truth. Get up and do and learn. Learn who you are. Christ said, all that I have done, you will do and more. The key word being do. Do is a verb and means action. You cannot sit and wait for change to come find you. You have to get up and be the change. Be the one you're waiting for. And in that, you'll find freedom. It's very simple, but there's no waiting. We must be what we want to be, who we want to be. If I want a world of peace, I must be a man of peace. And if I want a world of abundance and prosperity, I must live a life of abundance and prosperity. And it doesn't mean that I have to have lots of money and have to give it away, but I have to give away my life energy freely to serve others. I give my love. I give my knowledge. I give my reassurance. I give a smile. I create a smile and a happy face for other people. And in giving freely of those things, you begin to attract those things and more back to you. Living a life of abundance attracts abundance to you. Being peaceful attracts peace. Being a loving, compassionate person attracts love and compassion in return. You have to be that which you want your reality to be. You are, each and every one of us, who you're waiting for. Stand up and get off the couch. learn, and do just all that God has done, you can do and more. We are the master creators of realities. We have the opportunity right now today to awaken. The truth is all there. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. The knowledge is everywhere. It's a matter of getting out and seeking knowledge. Seek knowledge and take what feels right. Don't take what I say as gospel because I say it. Take it if it feels right to you. If it feels right in your heart, take it and run with it. Because that's where you're going to find freedom.
James, can you I know it's a long, complicated process probably to show documents or whatever, but in this few minutes that we have left, can you just give us a little insight of what it is that we need to do to get rid of this fiction? I know that you've said that in addition to that, we have to change what's up here. And absolutely, I'm in agreement with you. As a matter of fact, today I went to a health food store and I went to buy some vitamins. And when she told me the price, it was like $39 for a little bottle of, green leaf vegetable capsules. And I was like, $39? I'm like, and at that moment, it just reacted. I mean, you know that we're the only species on this earth that we have to pay for our, where we live, and we got to pay for our food, and we got to pay for everything. We got to pay even tithes to the church, and look at all the tragedy that they've created. So what is the can you give us that information, a little bit of that information? What is...
Absolutely. It's actually quite simple.
Okay.
We're all assumed to be deceased. The first step to gaining your freedom is reestablish your living status. And it took me years to figure out, and it took many of us years to figure out how that's done. And it's all done. It all happened whenever I claimed to be the divine spirit in humans, having a human experience, and I put my blood thumbprint on a document. When my blood, my DNA reached the Vatican knew that I was now a living being. That's the first step. You have to reestablish your living status. Now, from that point, now you have to redeem or claim your estate. You have to, because the estate is assumed to be operating in limited liability. All right? So what we have to do, we have to reestablish our living status. We have to write or declare a state of peace, live in a state of peace, and then we have to bring our estate back into original jurisdiction under the protection of the crown, which stops the war against you and the estate. It's quite a simple process. It's a matter of a half a dozen documents. It's reestablishing living status, bringing your estate out of a state of war and into a state of peace under original jurisdiction. And that's what we help you do. And then you have to learn how to live from that position. The documents in the process is very simple. It can be done very quickly. You can go to my website, notice-recipient.com, and for $20, you can get the documents all filled out for free for you. And they'll be delivered to you within 4 hours, all by email. The documents are that simple. You fill them out, you copy and paste them, you print them out, you sign them, you mail them to certain places, and that does that part of it. From there, it's a matter of learning how to live to be free.
James, what about, for example, people that live down here in South America, in Chile or Ecuador, Colombia, where would they have to send those documents? In Spain,
It's very much the same. There's only a couple addresses that would be different. You got to remember that we're all tied together by the Federal Reserve banks. We're all tied together by the Crown of England, and we're all tied together by the Vatican. So it's all very much the same. In fact, for us, America and Canada are tied together as one. Australia, we found now, is a subcorporation of America. And every country which we have conquered and turned to a civilized nation is a subcorporation of the United States. Anywhere the Federal Reserve is in any country where the Federal Reserve exists is part of the same system. The process is the same. The mailing addresses are the same. The remedy is the same. We truly are one people on this world, on this rock that we live in. They have tried to separate us, put these borders and boundaries in. Separate us by color, by religion, by countries, by language. And that was all a trick of the powers to be, to separate us so that we would forget that we are all one with the Creator. We truly are one people on this earth. And once we realize that, we know that everything is tied together, and the remedy is basically the same for all of us.
James, what about if they fill out this paperwork that you're saying for $20? They send in the documents, they get a response, and then sort of they go back to the fiction. They go back to having a driver's license, I don't know, and putting their money in a bank and paying with checks. Is there a way to do both? To say use the system in our favor, or we just need to be away from that system completely?
Well, that's a very complicated thing. We are in a transition, so you will be using both for a temporary, but you have to get farther and farther away from it. Today, I have no Social Security number. I have no driver's license. I have no anything. I create as the post office master through the office of the Postmaster General. We issue an ID, which is in conformance with international standards, which is supported and backed by the Post Office of the world, which establishes exactly who you are. We also issue an international driver's permit, which is also issued by the Post Office, and it is good anywhere in the world. So we now have two documents that allow you to travel freely throughout the world. And we're creating other things, other documents which help you to make this transition. Today we have two pieces of ID. You can throw away all of it, and I tell you, the police take it, the courts take it. We believe that the same ID will suffice as a passport. I expect to travel across the border here within the next couple of weeks and prove that my ID suffices as a passport. And it's the same for anyone in the world. So we are creating these things to help you get away from that. We are creating our own banking system so that you can get away from the Federal Reserve's notes and the banking system altogether. That is one of the key things that enslaves us. So step by step, we're creating this bridge to get from there to here. We are in the new world today here in this office, and we are actively every single minute of every day creating the new world. IDs, documents, banks, currency, all the things we need to live in the new world. We are creating that, and is now becoming, we're now finally being able to make this available to the people around the world. And we got teams of people where we continue to research, continue to build, continue to create. We, in the very near future, we will have funding available to fund the development of all high-tech energy, new technologies for free energy, new technology for healing. And all of this stuff is is part of the process of building the bridge and building the new world. So it's a process, and we're doing it, we're building it, and everybody is welcome to participate. You can be part of creating the new world by simply creating a new reality, a peaceful, abundant reality for yourselves. We are all dreaming and creating a new reality, and we invite all of you to dream a new and better world. Because this whole new world begins with just that, dreaming it. You think it. What do I want my reality to be? What does heaven on earth look like to me? And by simply putting those thoughts out there, you begin the process of creating a new world. by putting the fear behind you and giving your thought and your life energy to peace, to love, compassion, abundance, and prosperity, you begin to create that new world for yourselves. And that's what we're doing here today. And that's what we invite you to be part of, participate in.
Okay.
Creating a new world for ourselves.
Okay. James, it's in my opinion, I get you 100%. There's still things that I'm struggling with. I'm not going to lie to you. I think the aspect of fear, I'm already 90%. There's still some kind of fear in me. Obviously, so many years of living under this tyrannical system.
Right.
But you're saying that the Vatican and the powers that be will accept you reclaiming your dominion and saying, "Listen, I'm a live human being with your seal of your blood." You're telling me they're just going to let you go like that easy?
If you look in the papal bull, first you understand that the Vatican is the absolute one world government. All the courts and all the corporations, all the governments operate under the Vatican today. Even they admit that they are responsible and answerable only to the divine spirit. Once you know that you are the divine spirit having a human experience, they must bow down to you and your will. Yes, they do. They know they do. They know they must.
Well, I Santos Bonacci, who's one of our co-hosts here, he said something that, as to this day, sticks to my mind. He said that they created this fiction, right? This W, or this strawman, however you want to call it, because they know that they can, they know that they can't hurt the real human you, right? So they created this fiction because there, in that creation, they can really do harm to that fiction. They can throw you in jail, they can harm you, even kill you, because they need to respect, as you're saying, the human you. But that's kind of hard to understand, because we see so much tragedy and so much injustice and evilness that the first thing that people would think is, they're going to throw me in jail. I'm just gonna disappear. And if they haven't disappeared, if they haven't disappeared, James Thomas, is because maybe he's an agent of the government, or he's an agent of the Illuminati, and that's why he's still talking.
And that's okay. I've heard it all before, and that's okay, because you know what? I'm not trying to be a savior. I'm not trying to be a leader. I created this for me because I personally wanted to live in a world of peace and prosperity, of love and compassion. And I have created that for me. My world today is a world of love and compassion, of peace, prosperity, and abundance. And I don't care that other people believe what I believe. It's not important to me. I am simply here to stand as a beacon of light. And if you want what I have got, then the truth is here. I have built the bridge. I have paved the road. I stand as a light to guide you through, and no more. I am not a leader, and I'm not a savior. I created my own world, and I welcome you in if you wish.
Okay. Very well. James, we have a few minutes left. And in these few minutes that we do have left, personally, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I apologize for making you wait so long. But I would, in my personal goal, would be to perhaps educate myself a little bit more with the information that you have, because it's so critical that we get this information out to our Spanish-speaking audience. As I mentioned to you earlier, our Spanish people, our Spanish community is lost. They're just starting to understand, that they're just starting to see, oh, my name appears in capital letters in all my documents, and I wonder why. So we're in diapers. So hopefully,
and I welcome, like I said, we have a huge Spanish-speaking population here, and I welcome the Spanish people to learn what we're doing and to translate that and make that available to the rest of the world. We do that already. I have other people who have created their own websites that work directly with me. That and they're very open and candid about it. That they are simply trying to spread the word, and I'm okay with that. That's what we're here for. And we welcome somebody to come in, the Spanish to come in. We welcome people from all over the world in whatever language to come in and learn and see what we're doing, to learn the truth, translate that, and spread that to your people.
Okay.
Because your people are our people.
Right.
We are all truly one.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're in the process, James, of creating a documentary. We're going to present this probably within the next week or so, and ask our friends to also help us with funding, because obviously we understand this, but we need to hire camera people and editing people to present this information in Spanish. Right, I would be real glad to perhaps once we get this rolling to interview you. Maybe we take a trip to the States and spend a little bit more time with you to get as much information and translate it and get this information out into our documentary. Okay, James, we have about a minute or so. I leave you the last words, James.
Yes, I welcome everybody to create and to be. Christ said, "Do as I do." Do is a verb. You must act, learn the truth, and then be that which you wish to be. Create a peaceful, loving, compassionate world for yourself. And if every man on earth does that, we will have a world of peace, love, compassion, abundance, and prosperity. If you like what we've got, what we've created, the information is available. We are here to assist you in making that trip to freedom for yourself. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I wish you the best. Seek the truth and know that love and peace, abundance, and prosperity is possible in the world today.
Okay, thank you.
I love you all. Good night.
Thank you, James. And of course, you folks, you can visit the website noticerecipient.com or legalregistries.com for more information. James, Thomas, thank you very much, and we'll be talking soon. Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.
Okay. Well, folks, that's going to do it for us. Thank you for being here in this hour. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday with another edition of The Truth Hour. Ciao.